Boom, boom. Okay. Okay. This is Bridges for Music. The Bridges for Music Academy is a creative school in Langa Township, South Africa, empowering young creatives from local communities through holistic programs and mentorship opportunities. Bonobo visited for the second time in March to co-create with some of the students and local South African singer Msaki. This is their story.
Welcome. It's actually so special that you're here because, I mean, this is one of my favorite places. You're one of my favorite musicians, and it seems like a good match. And I think you met good people. From the fact that you came here and you came here with through Val's invitation, it's always a good sign. But thank you for spending the day here. How's the day been for you?
It's been really good.
Yeah.
It's been good to get back here after 2019 was the last time I was here, and the building was here, but there wasn't much else. I don't
For
think
sure.
that
So you saw the
studios
beginnings.
Saw the beginnings, yeah.
Yeah.
I did like a sort of Q&A thing and met some people then, but there wasn't like the studios like there is now. There wasn't like the infrastructure, and it's really good to see the whole thing expand and be like this really involved space.
Yeah. And how do you do you see a lot of stuff like this, like spaces that are thinking about creativity, mindfulness, young people? Was there stuff like this back home that you
Not to this degree. I mean, there's sort of like, there's like mentorship programs everywhere, but like not to this degree. I think this is a really unique thing. Especially considering the sort of like musical heritage and talent that's kind of in the area. And I think like South Africa and Cape Town especially has always been renowned for having that sort of like young energy and music.
Yeah.
So to have like a focal point is pretty vital, I think. It seems like. I mean, from sort of 10 years ago, people talking about all this music coming out of South Africa, but to give it a sort of focal point and have sort of spaces like this to give people opportunities to flourish.
Yeah, to sort of harness that this mystical talent that's floating around
Yeah.
that that's difficult to realize. I'm thinking about just me, like growing up in East London and the art centers, places where you could, we have a guild theatre and sometimes there are programs. If I think about those places in my youth and the way that I interface with them, possibly life-saving spaces, And I mean, I hear testimonies from the young people here all the time. I'm here quite often, and they have someone in their life that's taken a parallel route that didn't have the same choices or didn't have the same options or decided not to take an option to, spend their time here, have things to do on the weekend. And some of those stories are like quite sad, quite, not easy. But I feel like if I'd had a place like this when I was a young person, I would have figured out that I want to be a musician way earlier.
Yeah.
I'm a bit of a late bloomer. Did you sort of know when you were younger, and were there places to sort of go and figure out more things about your creativity?
There wasn't really. I mean, I kind of grew up pretty rural, kind of I wasn't even in London. I was like out near sort of, pretty like small towns, small villages. There wasn't much.
South of London.
South of England, like Hampshire, Sussex, that kind of area.
Okay.
So there was like, we were in bands. That was our thing. It was just like very much like the OG like garage band thing. We were just like playing guitars and figuring out, like trying to borrow amps from people and
Sure.
making music. It wasn't really till I got to Brighton and scraping together. It was kind of like thrift store stuff, really. I mean, I managed to get hold of like an Atari sequencer and a sampler, and that changed everything. So,
Sure.
So having like access to sort of a certain amount of gear, but I think it's testament to like having, if you have an idea, the equipment is really gonna just be whatever you make it,
For sure, yeah.
And I think that's kind of been proved here. But if the idea is gonna find a way to sort of
materialize.
Yeah.
There's no shortages of ideas in this building, as you've seen. Like
But to give it that, so does that expedite it and ease the path and the sort of,
I'm very comfortable there with you. I think I'm gonna join. I'm just thinking. So the other thing I wanted to ask you, because, I don't know if you know how house music, and so, obviously you do. House music is huge here, But the idea of house music being like also a live performance, the first time I saw it expressed in South Africa, Zakes Bandwini was traveling with a brass trio. And I saw him in my hometown, and he played before Black Coffee in the stadium, and my mind was blown. And I wasn't that young. I had already been listening to your first album that has Keto and Days to Come. Can't think of the title all of a sudden when I know it really well.
Yeah, Days to Come is the album.
Days to Come is the album.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, I mean, I know the concept of like, I think you had already been experimenting with the live shows. And
so that was my third album. And then the live show, right, because so the first two albums I kind of didn't have a live show. I was DJing.
So sorry, the first album that I interfaced with, not your first
album.
album.
Yeah.
It
was like by that third album, that was when I sort of decided to put a live show together. I think in a response to kind of going to places like America, because I sort of come from a club DJ background. So it wasn't unusual to see a producer going and playing a club set, not necessarily their own music, but some of their own music. Doing that in places like the US, people didn't really kind of get it as much. The idea of like, oh, listen to your record and now here you are playing some music that's not your record. So I managed to sort of split the two things, the DJing into one side and then like, well, I need to do a live show. And I feel like the way I write this music can be deconstructed and sort of delegated to a few different musicians. So that's the kind of the way I approached it, was just finish these records and then sort of deconstruct them and figure out how like maybe this part can be played by on a bass guitar, maybe this part needs to remain on the sampler, maybe this part can be played by someone else. So it was like a lot of trial and error to get it there.
So I mean this is what I do now, and I don't think I would have had the confidence to sort of try it so fearlessly and to make those decisions and to have those experiments if your project wasn't there as a blueprint, of it. Also, as a person who's like really into live music and sometimes can only present in that space, like just like a trio or just me and guitar. I love the idea of just live. Well, I mean, I guess electronic music's also live, but you know what I mean. And seeing you do this hybrid thing very early on, when I was still trying to figure out what I wanted to do with sonics and like how I wanted to be a storyteller. It kind of gave me a pocket to think and imagine into. And then there were other people that I started discovering, but it wasn't very popular then when you were doing it with Days to Come. It wasn't something that you'd see all the time. And then I saw Zakes in South Africa do it. And then I was just like, you can do anything. You can present in any way as long as you can make the logistics work. The creativity now and the palette, sort of like the base to imagine how you could present music changed for me,
Yeah, I think for me that was it. I mean, the sound of my records at the time was a little more live than it is now. It had a jazzier kind of feel.
Yeah, for sure.
It was more sort of... I mean, the people I'd seen doing that growing up were bands like the Cinematic Orchestra and Herbalizer.
Love that.
Yeah.
That seems like it's a similar time. Was that before you?
It was a little bit before me. That was sort of like, I mean, I guess the time is your relationship with time is a lot shorter when you're younger, or a lot longer. 2 years ago when you're 21 feels like a lifetime ago, but now it feels like yesterday. For me, those bands were sort of older and they'd been around for a while. But really, it was only like 5 years before. So that was the kind of like seeing stuff like that and seeing how you can kind of take sample-based music and which parts. I think having drums and bass live is key. Like that's the backbone of it.
For sure.
And then I think just embracing the fact that there are samples and still kind of incorporating the samples into it. Because then you're kind of getting into like, there are other bands like Portishead that we were talking about earlier who were sort of implementing like turntablism and very lo-fi, sort of a lo-fi band, it'd be sort of drums and Rhodes and then a turntable. And that was like the samples with the turntable. So that was kind of, those are the kind of seeds of these sort of projects that I would be inspired by presenting a live show.
If you want to listen to these conversations live and have access to this incredible community, you can join us at our physical campus, the Bridges Academy in Langa, South Africa. a revolutionary learning space where you will find courses on music, entrepreneurship, film, DJing, and much more. For more information on how to apply, visit bridgesacademy.org.
It makes a lot of sense. I put you in the same universe when you say that. I don't know. Like, I'm just thinking about the fact that it's your second trip to South Africa. What keeps bringing you back? Please keep coming back.
I mean, because people seem to, you know, like it when I come here, and that's a sort of motivational reason to be anyway. You know, it's like it was so good last time, and like this place as well. This is, you know, going back to Bridges and playing the shows. It's like, I think it's just such a sort of warm place to be and spend time.
Yeah, I love this place, and every time that I visit, they think like, you know, oh, you've taken time out of your busy, and I'm just like, you guys don't understand. Every time I'm here, you know, there's so much. It's such a fair exchange, you know. Whether, I don't know, I'm not here to do much. Sometimes I'll do a songwriting thing, but we still have to make it formal. But in the meantime, I've just been blown away by the talent and the tenacity and everyone's kind of curiosity, you know, digging into their creativity. There's like a seriousness about it that's also supported by the space. You're able to kind of take it. They're given a chance, and they're given a chance to see the value in it, because they will probably be able to do something after this with what they've learned here. And I think that's the way that they're engaging. They understand that it's not a waste of time. So it's really inspiring. And I think I'm going to be around here for a long time.
Yeah.
Make sure it grows with everybody that's here. Because,
same, I hope.
Pretty special. Yeah, you better keep coming back
absolutely
to visit us. And how are you feeling about tomorrow and Joburg?
Feeling great. Yeah. I mean, Kirstenbosch, I was excited to just spend some time in that park, you know, in that gardens, because it's just a beautiful place to be. It's one of the highlights of the last tour.
So you're going to try to go early, have a picnic?
Spend all day there.
Sure.
Explore, eat some things.
Don't eat the
study
aloes.
Some plants.
Don't eat the aloes or the wild mushrooms.
Okay.
You won't make your set.
Okay,
don't do that.
It won't make the set better. They'll make it worse. Okay.
And then Mushroom Park is an unfortunate name
of
of the Joburg place. But that's going to be pretty cool. And I think I'm interested in I think the curation of the lineup has been amazing. I think those musicians are incredible. And I think it's a beautiful sort of like up-ramp to what you're doing. And more than anything, I hope you feel the love in Joburg. I hope
definitely felt it last time.
A big
so I'm like super excited. I mean, it was one of the most hype crowds I've played to ever, I think, last time in Joburg.
Cool.
So I'm super excited to get back in front of the.
And you're going to be playing some stuff from Fragments.
Yes.
Maybe more taste making, DJing. Was
some
it a
more
bit of
stuff,
both?
some new unreleased. I've got loads of music that I've been working on that I've just sort of been playing out and testing. So loads of new stuff. Because Fragments, I mean, I kind of delivered that like a couple of years ago now. So I've got like 2 years worth of new stuff to play as well.
Cool. And lastly, just because this was mainly for the students here and just the community around Bridges, what do you hope to see? You know, like just creativity is a tough one. Like I was on some songwriting advocation discussions at South by Southwest, and it felt like a futile activity to think about encouraging people to have a career in music. As a songwriter, like the rights are ridiculous, and I feel bad encouraging kids that are passionate about it. That's my first love. But like with the way music is going and technology and the way that, you know, you really have to figure out like how you get value from people that want to support you. Streaming services not doing much for us. All of those things, but like it's not an easy career. You know, when a child or a young person has this passion, what do you think is the other thing that they can look forward to besides the inner workings of the industry and how hard it is to be a musician? Like what?
I mean, I think there's there's the joy of music itself, you know, and just that sort of sharing and how it makes you feel, and how it makes the connection it has with other people. I mean, in terms of like just making a sort of success, I think there's figuring out how performance works as well. I mean, in terms of like streaming and royalty rates, I'd like to think that is getting kind of redressed a little bit now. I mean, there's certain sort of, you know, in a way that kind of major labels were getting turned over by artists in the 90s before streaming. I feel like streaming is about to have that kind of upending. So yeah, I think it's just sort of it's a big readjustment, but it's getting there maybe.
Yeah, I mean the back end, there's lots of strides, but I like the fact that you just went straight to the passion and having this music thing, you know, to share. Like I think you've sort of just taken me back to the center of it, because I'm just so lost in the numbers and I'm so lost in the injustice of this industry and my disdain for major labels. But I think being here and seeing the passion and seeing the talent, that's kind of what makes me feel like it's all worth it as well. But I mean, I can't, personally on my side, it's like there's no other way for me to be. I just love writing songs. I love trying to figure out how to share love through sonics and share my passion through, you know, through this medium. It's always difficult to share. I mean, it feels like it's such an obvious message, and you bringing me back to it, I feel kind of silly, because that's the answer, you know, the joy of music. And I think,
and the joy of performing. Performing's not for everybody either, but like,
Yeah.
you know, there's nothing like that engagement of kind of something that like happened in a space like this to be sort of transported into sort of a bigger space with people that it's being shared with. It's like there's no feeling like it really.
Cool. Well, I hope you have an amazing show tomorrow, and Joburg, we'll see you there.
Yeah.
And the rest of your tour, like that you're on, and yeah, I hope everything.
Yeah, it's been super fun
cool.
today. It's been great.
Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this podcast as much as we do making them. Remember, if you'd like to attend any of these workshops live, enroll in any of our upcoming programs. To support the work we do, you can find more information on bridgesformusic.org. Please don't forget to subscribe, as we'll be bringing new inspiring conversations soon. Until next time, keep safe.